Imagine a secret war, one that's being fought completely in the digital shadows. For years, a single, highly skilled group has been waging this war, and they've been targeting the highest levels of government all across the globe. You want to know the scariest part? Well, until very recently, pretty much nobody even knew it was happening. 37. Just let that number sink in. That's how many countries have had their most sensitive government functions targeted in this single, sophisticated operation. I mean, we are talking about the very heart of how a nation operates. And believe it or not, it gets even worse. More than 70 organizations within those countries have been successfully hacked. And hey, we're not talking about small businesses here. These are parliaments, national police forces, even border control agencies. Now, what is just absolutely wild is that all of this, these widespread coordinated attacks across dozens of countries, it all seems to be the work of one single highly organized group. And that right there sets up the central mystery. Who are they? So this whole thing has a name, the cybersecurity firm Palo Alto Networks. They're the ones who managed to peel back the layers here, and they've dubbed it the Shadow Campaign. They're the ones who brought this massive global threat out into the light. And just to give you a sense of the stakes, the researchers who found this said its scale is, and I'm quoting here, alarming, and they warned about potential long-term consequences. So you see, this isn't just about some stolen data. This is high-stakes espionage on a truly global scale. So, with a threat this massive, the number one question is obvious. Who is behind it all? Investigators started following the digital breadcrumbs left by the group, who they gave a code name, TGRSTA1030. So who is this mysterious actor? Well, you can't exactly look them up in the phone book, right? But what you can do is build a surprisingly detailed profile just by looking at how they operate, where they operate, and who they target. And here's what that digital trail shows us. Okay, first, their activity lines up perfectly with the GMT+8 time zone. That covers China. They use regional tools and computer infrastructure based in Asia. But here's the kicker. Their targets, governments, critical infrastructure, they align perfectly with the known strategic interests of the Chinese state. So while there's no business card left at the scene, every single sign points towards a highly sophisticated, state-sponsored group. This timeline really shows just how incredibly patient these attackers are. Look at this. Their infrastructure went live way back in January 2024. Researchers only started to spot them a full year later, and it took until now to piece together the whole picture and go public. This is not a quick smash-and-grab job. This is a slow, methodical, long-term intelligence operation. Okay, so we have an idea of who they might be and how long they've been doing this. But how do they actually get in? How do you breach the defenses of something like a national parliament or a counterterrorism unit? Well, it starts with a classic, but in this case, a really sophisticated method, a phishing email. Some employee gets a very carefully designed email, it tricks them into opening an attachment, and boom. That installs a custom piece of malware, which then gives the attackers their first foothold, and eventually complete control inside the network. Now, this is where things get really clever. See, most malware tries to sniff out dozens of different antivirus programs, which is a bit of a giveaway. It makes the malware itself look suspicious. The Shadow Campaign's tool? It only checks for 5 very specific security products. By doing less, it actually becomes quieter and way, way less likely to get caught. It's a perfect case of less is more. So once they're inside the gates, that's when they unleash their full digital arsenal. And these guys don't just use off-the-shelf hacking software you can buy online. No, they have custom-built tools designed for one thing: maximum stealth and maximum impact. And at the very heart of that arsenal is a tool called ShadowGuard. Now, technically, it's a rootkit, but it's probably easier just to think of it as a digital invisibility cloak. Once it's installed deep inside a computer system, it lets the attackers operate completely unseen, hiding their every move from pretty much all security tools. It really is the ultimate weapon for long-term, stealthy spying. And here's something that might surprise you. They're not just using secret zero-day hacks. They're absolute masters of exploiting existing weaknesses. They have this massive playbook of known flaws in software that, let's be honest, almost everyone uses. Microsoft, SAP, you name it. It just goes to show you don't always need a brand new weapon when you know exactly how to use the hundreds of old ones that companies haven't gotten around to fixing yet. All right. Let's take a step back now and look at the big picture. We've talked about the who and the how, But let's really focus on the staggering impact this campaign has had on global security.
This chart really puts it all into perspective. The first two bars, that's the confirmed damage. Over 70 organizations breached in 37 countries. That's bad enough. But now, look at that last bar. That's reconnaissance, the initial spying phase where they're just mapping out networks. They have cast that net over government infrastructure in a staggering 155 countries. So they may have only broken into 37, but they are actively watching many, many more.
And when you look at the list of targets they actually hit, it is just chilling. A national parliament, a senior elected official, counterterrorism units, the ministries that control a country's money and its borders. These aren't random hacks. This is precision-targeted espionage that goes straight for the very core of a nation's power.
You know, the discovery of this shadow campaign is really a stark reminder of the new reality we're living in, and it leaves all of us with a pretty critical and frankly unsettling question. In a world where operations this massive can run totally undetected for years, how safe are any nation's secrets really?